Flying is supposed to be easy. You come with your suitcases and bags, you go to the desk or kiosk, you get your luggage tagged, you hand it off to the airport, and magically it ends up on your flight. Well, most of the time. You go through TSA, you cross your fingers, and you hope your bag doesn't get pulled. If it does get pulled for checking, you start thinking, oh my god, did I pack a gun or a bomb or I don't even own these items. Why am I stressing about it? Once you make it through what's supposed to be the anxiety-provoking part of your trip, you skip along to your gate, you grab a coffee, a snack, and you just sit and wait. Then it's on the board. For a lot of people, this is the anxiety-provoking part of the trip. You get on the plane, you sit down, you take off, you start relaxing, and you're like, wait, this isn't that bad. Then out of nowhere, the plane just starts falling out of the sky. You start thinking, this is supposed to be safer than riding in a car. I did not approve of this to be the first episode of Yellow Jackets. What's going on? Why are the planes crashing? Why are they falling out of the sky? Is it accidental or deliberate? This is the current event of the planes going down. I'm Olan Hulion and welcome back to my channel. In today's video we are talking about the plane crashes and why have there been so many this year and it's only February. I'm going to go over the plane crashes and then at the very end we're going to talk about the theories that are circulating on the internet. This is going to be a long video, so grab a snack, sit back, and relax. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It helps to push out the video. Before we get into the video, I upload all this from public resources. Please do your own research. All of this is alleged unless proven otherwise. This is for entertainment purposes only. Viewer discretion is advised. I know this video is about the current plane crashes, but I think it's important to discuss whenever the public starts to distrust planes and flying in general. People have always been scared of planes, and thus they've been scared of flying. But on January 5th, 2024, an Alaskan air flight takes off from Portland, Oregon. The flight was in the air for about 10 minutes. It ascended up to 16,000 feet. This is the equivalent of 13 Empire State Buildings being stacked on top of each other. This is in the air. When all of a sudden, the door plug with a 737 MAX 9 tore off the plane.
Picture this. You're 20 minutes into your flight when suddenly, boom, a window blows out. That just happened on an Alaska Airlines flight departing Portland. The incident went down at 16,000 feet. One passenger says the force was so strong, it sucked the shirt right off of a kid's back and out of the aircraft. Miraculously, nobody was sitting in that particular aisle and nobody got seriously hurt. In response, the FAA ordered the grounding of all Boeing 737-9 MAXs.
Fortunately, they had an emergency landing, but this isn't the case for everyone involved in planes. This was the start of the public having distrust not only in Boeing, but in flying in general. It marked the lowest trust levels of flying since 9/11. I could do a whole video on Boeing because they had a hell of a year in 2024. Fast forward through the rough year that Boeing had in December of 2024 was the most deadliest aviation crash of the year. The plane being a Boeing 737-800 operated by Jeju Air. The plane crashed in Muon, South Korea. This crash killed 179 people. 2025 started with whispers in the air of planes going down, but nothing big enough to make it on the news. January 29, 2025, approximately at 8:47 p.m., a Bombardier CRJ-700 airliner, American Airlines Flight 5342, was about to land at Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport. As they were mid-air over the Potomac River in Washington, D.C., a Black Hawk helicopter collided with the flight, causing 67 people to die. 60 passengers and 4 crew members were on the American Airlines flight, while there were 3 crew members on the Black Hawk helicopter. This marked the first major commercial plane crash in more than 15 years in the United States. Before I show this video, viewer discretion is advised. If plane crashes, things exploding bothers you, I would just go ahead and click off the video because I will be inserting all the footage that I'll find in this video. Quickly after the accident, President Trump was briefed on the incident. While the president was being briefed, officials were on the ground trying to lead a search and rescue to discover any survivors. They had divers in the river searching the water. The water was at 35 degrees. It was almost freezing. I mean, it was freezing. Like, it's cold in that water. They had high gust winds and chunks of ice in the water due to the river being frozen earlier that day. The rescue team is racing against the clock. If there is any survivors, they have about 30 minutes before hypothermia sets in. While they were in the midst of searching for any survivors, President Trump put out a statement stating, "I have been fully briefed on the terrible accident which just took place at Reagan National Airport. May God bless their souls. Thank you for the incredible work being done by our first responders. I am monitoring the situation and will provide more details as they arise." The DC Fire and Rescue put out a call to civilian boats to respond if they could. They were essentially asking the public for help. All types of boats did respond to the call. They had tourist boats and then people that were just on the river responding to that call. The plane was broken into two pieces in 7 feet of water, while the chopper was reported to be upside down. About 300 responders were working through the night trying to find survivors, but instead it turned into a search and recovery, and they were recovering bodies of the passengers and crew members. When I first saw this, it was my birthday, so I was getting ready to go out, and I was wondering, what is going on? Like, how did this happen? Because I was seeing like videos on Twitter X. I was seeing videos on X of like the planes colliding, and I was like, how does this even happen? And air traffic control was the first to blame. The American Airlines flight had approval to land, and usually at the tower there's two people working, one to work with the helicopters and the other to work with planes. The FAA reported, quoting, "Staffing for the DC tower was not at normal level, but acceptable." The air controller was trying to keep distance between the two aircraft. The controller asked the helicopter if they could see the plane.
25, get the CRJ in flight. At 25, have fun at CRJ. This club has a aircraft in sight for precision separation.
The Ronald Reagan runway is one of the busiest runways in the United States. Apparently, the airport has had some close calls in the past. One being in March 2023, air traffic told United to abort takeoff as another plane crossed in front of it. April 2024, Southwest flight crossed runway as a JetBlue flight was taking off. In May of 2024, air traffic control canceled takeoff after another airline was cleared to land on the runway. In May of 2024, air traffic control canceled a takeoff because they cleared another airline to land on the intersecting runway. But in this area, planes are supposed to maintain an altitude of 400 to 500 while landing, while helicopters in the area are supposed to maintain an altitude of 200. The helicopter was involved in a routine training flight. President Trump stated that the helicopter was obviously at the wrong place at the wrong time. A day later, air traffic resumed back to normal while the families of the deceased were showing up. Among the passengers on the plane, there were members of the U.S. figure skating team. And then on the flight, there was also two Chinese citizens on the flight, and China put out a statement offering their condolences and asked the United States government if they would give them a report on what happened when the plane went down. President Trump offered his condolences, but as always, he made it political. He suggested that the Democratic DEI policies that were put in place, the diversity policies that President Trump ended a week before the collision, may have been the reason of the mid-air collision due to air traffic being understaffed. President Trump signed an order requesting FFA hiring decisions within the last 4 years. The NTSB was the only agency approved to release any information about the collision. The chairman said in an interview that she warned Congress during her time of testifying about the aviation safety and that this was their biggest fear and that the tragedy is something they haven't seen in years. They asked her about staffing issues in the tower. She said that this wasn't anything new and that they've seen this before and that everything in the past was A-okay. The NTBC has about 50 people investigating this collision. Transcripts from the plane was originally supposed to land on runway 01. Air traffic control changed their mind and told them to make a visual approach instead. So instead of them using their instruments, they were using their eyes at this time. American Airlines flight this was being told to the American Airlines flight. Then the air controller asked if they could land at runway 33 instead of runway 1. This isn't the runway they're prepared for, and it would be a little bit difficult, but the plane agreed to do it anyways. At the same time, the U.S. Black Hawk was approaching the area, and they were on a routine training on the south side of the river. So we talked about altitude a few minutes ago. So descending to land, they're supposed to be at 400, 500, okay? Whenever they switched to runway 33, they were back on instrument, so they had the right of way already. So they're supposed to maintain that altitude going down, right? While the Black Hawk is supposed to be at altitude 200. It is believed that if the aircraft, the Black Hawk, was at its altitude, there's no way it would have collided with the plane. So the aircraft was communicating on different frequencies. The military uses UHF and civilians uses VHF. So they couldn't hear each other communicate. The only one that could hear the communication between the two planes was the air traffic controller. They ended up recovering the two black boxes on the plane. Among the members on the Black Hawk helicopter, there were well experienced. There was one person on there with over 1,000 flight hours. Differences between the two flights was between the two operating rules that were set in place. The helicopter was underneath visual flight rules. This means they were relying on what they saw in front of them. The American Airlines flight had priority. It was operating under instrument flight rules, which gives it priority over VFR flights in controlled airspaces. This means that the Black Hawk was supposed to have a visual separation to avoid conflicts with the plane. The air controller called the Black Hawk to confirm that they had a visual on the plane.
25, CRJ in flight. At 25, have fun, it's CRJ. This club has a aircraft insight precision separation.
It is believed that they possibly identified the wrong aircraft, and it is believed that they identified a departing flight and not the flight that the air traffic controller was talking about. Something odd about this is that the helicopter was traveling at an alarming high speed for this area. So, like, even if they identify, they really, I mean, you're going fast, you can't really jet out of the way like you're supposed to. Like, because in the air traffic is like go behind them. So it just makes sense because if you see the thing, he's like kind of just chilling down the river. And then it looks like he's going this way. So like if he did identify the departing flight, it makes sense that he was going the right way. But if he stayed at the altitude he was supposed to be at, he probably wouldn't even collided. But still, like he shouldn't have been going at an alarming high speed, and he shouldn't have been in that area. I believe that if this is the case, I think the air traffic control should have communicated better. Like if they did identify the wrong plane, they should have said something along the lines of, you have a visual on the flight approaching or the flight landing. Like they should have communicated better. 2 days later, a Learjet 55, which is known for its speed, was a medevac departed from Northeast Philadelphia Airport in Pennsylvania. The plane was on a routine flight heading to Springfield Branson National Airport in Missouri. The plane took off around 6:07 p.m. The medevac was carrying 4 passengers when it went down in Philadelphia. On board was a doctor, a paramedic, a patient, and her mother, along the side of two pilots. The plane was taken off and it ascended rapidly into the air to 1,600 feet. The plane experienced a technical issue. The visibility wasn't good at all due to the rain and fog. The pilot, for some reason, took a hard left turn with no correction. This means that the pilot was either confused or disoriented. As he was making his way through the clouds and rain, and as fast as the plane went into the air, that's as fast as it went down. The plane literally hit the ground like a freaking missile, and it caused a huge explosion.
She's still hanging. Déjame que mira los
The jet was on a critical medical transport mission, which means it was fully equipped with all the medical equipment it needed. Most likely there was oxygen on board, and it was fully gassed up due to the fact that it was supposed to be going to Mexico. This caused a huge explosion and caused it to be a lot bigger than what it would have been if it wasn't fully fueled up. Most of the time plane crashes don't happen as soon as they take off. Usually it's either them landing or mid-air, like mid-flight. Everyone died, including a person at the crash site. This crash also injured 22 people. The impact of the crash caused the explosion, which made a huge crater. But before the plane went down, the air controller was making contact with the plane. They kept trying to contact the plane and they were getting nothing.
Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, contact Philly 123.8. Medevac Med Service, Northeast Tower. Medevac Med Service 056, Northeast Tower, you on frequency?
Medevac Mike Tango Sierra 056, Northeast Tower, how do you hear this transmission?
Digit 765, we have a lost aircraft. We're not exactly sure what happened, so we're trying to figure it out. For now, the field is going to be closed, so no inbounds or outbounds probably.
People believed that the plane was in trouble from the very beginning due to no response. Medevacs are one of the most dangerous parts of the aviation sector, but most of the time it isn't a plane, it's a helicopter. And the helicopters are known to crash, like just Google it right now. Helicopters have a higher risk of crashing than planes do. February 13, 2025, in San Diego at Naval Air Station North Island, a EA18-G Growler takes off from runway 29. Around 10:15, the jet takes off, and as it does, it ends up having a mechanical glitch due to the weather conditions that were occurring at the time. It was light rain and fog with reduced visibility when all of a sudden the cockpit lit up. You might be asking, why was it lighting up? Well, it was telling them to eject, and with this, they did. And once again, the plane fell from the sky, plummeting like a missile into the San Diego Bay. But what's scary about this is that if the men in the plane, because there was 2 pilots on board, if the men would have ejected anytime later, if the men would have ejected anytime later than they did, it is potential that the plane would have went down in a neighborhood which is right off of the bay, which this could have been a catastrophic event for San Diego. And it could have ended up like the medevac situation that we just talked about. So I talked about the Black Hawk collision first, but on January 28th, the day before the Black Hawk collision, there was a crash in Alaska at Elson Air Force Base during a training exercise. It was a F-35 jet. The pilot ejected out of the plane and was safe. Apparently, this was the 3rd time within a year that this happened. The common denominator with the F-35 jets is the cold air. I read in 2018 that this happened, that the cold air went into the battery heaters, causing them to malfunction. Caused some technical issues, causing the jet to do an emergency landing. Apparently, Lockheed Martin said that they fixed the issue with a software update. Investigators are starting to wonder if this issue is the reason for the malfunction due to Alaska being negative 30 degrees. The pilot reported in-flight malfunction right before they chose to eject from the plane. Was it a sensor, was it a mechanical failure, or simply aircraft technology overwhelming the men in the cockpit? There's no reports at this time on exactly what happened, but the common denominator here is the military. We have the F-35 going down, we have the EA-something Growler, we have the Black Hawk collision, but what is going on? The last flight that I'm about to talk about is the Toronto flight. On February 17, 2025, Delta Flight 4819 departed from Minneapolis-St. Paul International Airport at 11:47 Central Time. The flight had 76 passengers and 4 crew members on board. The plane was a Bombardier regional jet, a CRJ-900 sister plane to the Black Hawk collision. So basically the same type of plane. They were sister planes. As the plane was approaching Toronto Pearson International Airport, headed for runway 23 at 2:13 p.m. Eastern Time, there was snow blowing. As the plane was ascending, air traffic controller warned the plane that there were wind gusts up to 40 miles per hour, with turbulence reported on the glide path to the runway. As the plane was descending towards the runway, the pilot was fighting against the wind. The wind was hammering the side of the plane, making it difficult for the plane to stay steady. Right before touchdown, a powerful blast of wind struck the plane, tilting it to the right. But the wing slightly touched the runway, causing the wing to rip off, causing sparks to fly with the damn plane as it was going down the runway. Since the force of the landing caused the wing to rip off, with in turn it caused the plane to go upside down. And as it was upside down, it skidded all the way down the runway.
Come on! Don't take your video! Step on the right! On the right!
Holy. We're in Toronto. We just landed. Our plane crashed. It's upside down.
People were wondering why and how the passengers survived this. It's because the CRJ-900 is designed that if there's any stress on the wings, they will break off, causing the middle part, like the cabin part, to stay in one piece. It is said that if the wings didn't break off, it would have caused the cabin part to split in two. There was a couple of injuries, but everyone is okay. They evacuated safely. People survived. I heard that I think it was the airline offering them $30,000 a piece. And one of the people said, "No, I'm not taking $30,000. I almost died." Which is understandable. Get that bag, I guess. Let's get into the theories and what's going on. So it is rumored that the US government was taking down videos of the Black Hawk collision. There was this video, it was like extremely clear. I saw it before it went down. I should have saved it, but I had no idea that I was going to be filming this video. If I did, I would have saved it. But it was so clear. Like you could see the lights from the Black Hawk and you could see the plane so clearly. Like the other footage that's available has nothing on that one video that I saw. And apparently it's rumored that the United States government is getting that video taken down, which I don't understand why. It's kind of like showing more. That's probably why they can't like lie and whatever. And like y'all, the explosion that came was like, it was wild. Like it looked like a movie scene at the way it was filmed. Like it was just so clear. People are also thinking that the planes are being hacked because the common denominator here is that a lot of these crashes are involved with military planes. Y'all remember in like, I think it was 2021 when we left Afghanistan and some of our planes were left? Well, it is said that China and some other countries were able to get their hands on those planes and equipment, and they reverse engineered everything. This is kind of reminding me of my Roswell UFO video where the president took the UFO and tried to reverse engineer to get technology from it, but that's beside the point. If you haven't watched that video, go give it a watch. But I'm wondering, and so is other people, like, since they were able to reverse engineer some of our tech, I'm not saying China is specifically to blame here, other countries was able to get their hands on it. So I'm wondering if, since they were able to reverse engineer it, are they able to figure out how to hack the equipment? Because, I mean, it just only makes sense. You're able to reverse engineer everything else. Why would you not figure out how to be able to hack into like the other equipment? I wonder if that's to do, because people do think that the planes and stuff is being hacked because there's just so many going down. It's like causing mechanical issues and all kinds of other stuff. Some people also think that the media is purposely covering all these plane crashes to cause fear in Americans so they won't leave the United States, which I think is kind of bizarre because why would we leave? Okay. But it's considered that when something big happens, like the Black Hawk collision, that the media will report on anything else that's like small or whatever within that same vein because it already captured our attention. So we're watching and viewing everything that's coming out about all these other planes. The media is just trying to capitalize on our attention, and once we stop paying attention to plane crashes or whatever again on the news, they'll move on to something else like they always do. Something else is going to terrify us and keep us riddled with fear about some other bullcrap that I can't even predict right now. Also, cutting staff members in the air traffic control and cutting corners like at Boeing to manufacture their planes to increase profit margins is to blame here. But who is to blame? Because I've been googling literally so much and trying to figure out like exactly what's going on, and we don't have exact reasoning right now. I mean, we will within like a year or two whenever all the reports come out, but I think honestly it's just it one big thing happened and now they're just zooming in on everything else. The rational reasoning here is due to short staffing, aging aircraft, pilot fatigue, increased air traffic, potential mechanical issues, weather conditions, and a phenomenon called random clustering. I've kind of been talking about this. This occurs when unrelated events appear more frequent due to media coverage. Like they're zooming in on it. Anyways, this is the end of the video. But if you have any theories of your own, let me know in the comments. I would love to read them. Also, let me know what you would want me to do a video on in the comments, of course. Please follow me on all of my socials. Everything is at Olan Hulion. If you haven't already, like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I will see you next week. Maybe.